geoholic.
You ready, man?
I think I'm ready.
It's going to be so much fun.
It is.
Two of my favorite people.
I know. I love shows where I love meeting new people, but I also like circling back on the old friend shows. It really is. It's comforting.
It is indeed. It is indeed. All right, Geohawks, welcome back. Episode 251.
Yes, that's 2-5.
It is indeed.
Believe it or not.
We are on our way to the next landmark number, which I'm assuming is going to be 300.
Got to be 300.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we won't get excited again.
We're not going to get excited for 275 or anything like that.
No, we're so far past that. Yeah, that's for kids. Excited to be here. Of course, our episode sponsor is MLID. Have you heard about Wing to Ground? This is a big deal. It's an all-in-one kit for aerial surveys. It combines all the elements of ground control setup, GNSS receivers, powered by MLID, of course, checkpoints, and the necessary tools to make it all work. It automatically connects to the Wingtra tablet, providing step-by-step setup guidance for the fast and error-free base and checkpoint setup. It can be used independently for terrestrial surveys, including point collection and stakeout for topography, boundary mapping, construction, and GIS. It's all orange, which is super cool.
Yeah.
Just like the Wingtra.
Yep.
The Wingtra is orange, of course. The MLID is orange. Like the whole kit is orange. It's super cool. To find out more, go to MLID. That's EMLID.com.
Good job.
Guess what? We got Russ Hall with us.
We do have Russ Hall with us.
Yes, a special guest co-host. Russ, how are you, buddy?
Good. It's good to see you guys again. I haven't seen you since Geo Week.
You as well.
Wow. What's new with you, buddy? Where are you at right now?
I am in New Haven, Connecticut, the home of arguably the best pizza in the world.
What?
Yeah, actually,
according to Barstool.
According to Barstool, that argument has been made.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Trevor's.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Trevor's like the best in Arizona.
You listen to Portnoy too much.
So I thought that's who we were talking about.
Yeah. I don't know. I was at the Pizza Bianco last night.
Not bad.
That's
not
phenomenal.
Bad. Not bad. You haven't been to OCI yet.
Yeah, I know.
I got to get up there. Get up there.
So I would say you could get good pizza anywhere, but there's a more consistent good pizza in New Haven style. If that makes sense.
Okay. Well,
I'd
I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't take your word for it since I'm a pizza connoisseur of sorts, being from Chicago. But anyways, good to see you, Russ.
Likewise.
My good friend. How are you?
Fan-freaking-tastic.
Yeah?
Yeah, actually doing very well. Very well.
You walked in, you're all dressed up today.
A little fancier. Yeah, it's okay to like life.
It is okay to like life, yes. That should be a quote. I'm going to save that one.
Okay, save that one.
I think I'm going to steal that.
No, I mean, things are good. Busy at work. HR AEC. It's an AEC focused HR conference.
Okay.
Try to get my learn on about, talent acquisition and employee retention and see what's new out there in the scene.
First of all, what I'd like to say, you're the last person that should be doing anything in HR.
I'm trying to learn.
Man, yeah.
I mean, believe it or not, if you manage people, there's a lot of good stuff out there.
So what you're saying is you can teach an old dog new tricks.
We'll see. We're day in, but we'll see.
Good for you.
Yeah. What's new with you, my friend?
Oh man, not a ton. Masters Week, awesome.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
So much fun.
I would like to admit that I was 100% focused at this conference, but I was watching the Masters on my phone about 75% of the time.
Sure you were. Are you
full disclosure?
I mean, we're both degenerate gamblers. Do you have any money on the Masters?
Always a little sprinkled out there.
There you go.
I think you always worthwhile putting a little bit of money on Scotty Scheffler. Just
a little bit. Yep. You have to.
Odds are.
You got to get the odds right now, like before the Masters starts.
Yeah. I did it a couple of days ago. Now,
not a live bet with Scotty.
He had a good day today. But what's new with you?
I suck at picking basketball.
Oh man, what a bloodbath those brackets were.
The funniest thing is, so PETA, she was the worst out of 16. I think I was second worst.
Okay.
And you were just
somewhere barely better than that. Yeah.
So we suck at that.
Yeah.
Basically. I think most people do.
I did another one with a big group of friends, and my good friend, he submitted 3 brackets, one himself and his two sons, like 7 and 10. And the 7-year-old finished second place of like 100 people.
Wow.
Yeah,
really?
Pretty wild. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's basically throw a dart at it and see what happens.
I mean, pretty much.
It's not a bad way to go. Other than that, everything's good. Busy work. Podcast is thriving. A lot of cool stuff happening.
Cool.
Excited about tonight's episode. We're going to talk about a cool event that we're going to be at here in the not too distant future.
Well, speaking of, let's get on with this.
Next up, we have the TopoDOT Song of the Week.
That's a timely friend of the program plug there.
It's almost like we set that up.
I know, right?
So, of course, TopoDOT is the industry leader in digital twin production from point cloud data. But did you know that TopoDOT offers a total data governance solution for free?
I actually did know that, but it's good to say again.
I think we knew that before it was a thing.
Yeah, I think
Ted talked to us about this like a year ago or so. Take control of your data with TopoShare is what it's called. TopoShare turns your data into a valuable long-term asset.
It does.
A long-term asset. We're going to find out a lot more about this, by the way. Minimize your storage costs, expand your collaboration with your clients, and realize the full profit potential of your data. Contact TopoDOT today. Of course, you can go to TopoDOT.com, but also
it'd be better if you just came to the
users conference. The TopoDOT Users Conference, which is always one of the biggest events of the year. This year it is happening May 5th through the 9th in Orlando, Florida, of course. And register now. And guess what? I think it's been made public at this point that
it has.
Us two Jamokes are going to be the keynote speakers.
We are.
Oh, my word.
Yeah.
I hope careful what you wish for, Ted.
No, I know. Everything's worth a shot once, right?
Yeah, we're going to have to talk to Ted, see if there's any filters or anything, or if it's parental guidance. You know what I'm saying? All right, what do you got this week?
That song, believe it or not, was, everyone knows, Bruce Springsteen. A song called I'm Goin Down, also known as The Boss. American singer, songwriter, and musician. He has released 20 studio albums, many of which feature his backing band, the E Street Band. Originally from the Jersey Shore, he is one of the originators of the Heartland rock style of music, combining mainstream rock musical style with narrative songs about working class American life. During a career that has spanned 5 decades, Springsteen has sold more than 150 million records and more than 64 million albums in the United States, making him one of the world's best-selling music artists. Springsteen was inducted into both the Songwriters Hall of Fame and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1999.
Bit of a legend, that guy.
Oh, yeah. He's still doing it, man.
He is. And I am a huge Springsteen fan. I have not seen him live. Reason being is his shows are like 4 hours long. I can barely sit through an hour-long podcast when I'm actively involved, let alone a 4-hour show.
No doubt.
If I can find the abbreviated version of a Springsteen show, I'll be there.
I'm sure it's out there somewhere.
Might be.
Sure, that's possible.
All right. We are, of course, in the Altera Central studio. Altera Central is the authorized premier Trimble dealer for survey, mapping, GIS forensics, and marine equipment in Texas, Oklahoma, Arizona, and New Mexico. They also offer field supplies and can deliver them right to your job site, which is an added bonus, all backed by a service department with one of the fastest turnaround times in the nation. We both experienced that. They're phenomenal.
We did.
To find out more, go to alteracentral.com.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Lots of words here. Next up, the Hexagon weekly pro tip. We got a good one this week. You just wait till you get to this one. Hexagon is a global leader in digital reality solutions, combining sensor, software, and autonomous technologies to empower an autonomous future. That's where we're headed, my friend. Their solutions are utilized across various industries, including manufacturing, infrastructure, public sector, and mobility applications to enhance efficiency, productivity, quality, and safety. Another event that we're going to be at, Hexagon Live, June 16th through the 19th in lovely Las Vegas, Nevada.
Lovely Las Vegas.
So again, if you're not doing anything, June 16th through the 19th, come to Vegas. Be a part of Hexagon Live.
Sounds like a good little run there.
Go to hexagon.com to find out more.
Okay.
What do you got for us this week, Sean?
I read this earlier, and it made me think a little bit.
Do you like it or do you not like it?
I haven't decided yet.
Okay.
The 3 feet analogy. Anyone heard of this? It goes like this. I may not be able to change the world, but I do know I can impact anyone within a 3-foot radius of me. We don't know what folks are going through, and in this time of division in this country, we should think about our 3 feet and the impact we have on those we interact with.
What do you think of that?
I don't know. Maybe I'm a little too literal, but I think it's more of an analogy. The people close to you within your circle.
It is called the 3 feet analogy. So yes, it is an analogy. You're right.
Well, I guess if you had COVID, you could spread it to everyone within 3 feet of you. Pretty easy.
Yes, that's true.
Communicable diseases.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I find it interesting. Impact anyone with a 3-foot radius of me. Well, let's face it, with technology and everything, we can impact anybody with the push of a button. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I guess it's maybe that part is the focus should be on within your circle, not the people that you don't know that you're messing with on the internet.
Like if nobody was carrying a cell phone, I can see it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you had to have interpersonal communication.
Well, why do you have to not have a cell phone to be able to see that?
Well, I don't know. That was weird, I guess. Didn't really make sense, did it?
No.
All right. Strike that.
But I think I know where you're going. It's like if you didn't think about those things, you would be forced to connect to only the people that you see
interpersonally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe you should just do that anyway.
Yeah. That's like old school, but yeah, we could do that.
Okay.
All right.
You can keep your phone in your pocket when you do it. It's just more of a mental thing.
I am with you. I'm following you. Next up, the NLC Prep question to make you think. This is a great one. NLC Prep is for those dedicated to passing their land surveying exams the very first try. I know plenty of people that have used NLC Prep to prepare for their exams, and everybody I know anyways has passed on their first try.
Absolutely.
What's the question this week, Sean?
Are you getting the winnings out to the people that submit their answers?
Yeah, of course I am.
Okay, good. You know that you don't have to mail them a gift card. You can just email it to them, right?
Okay. Been doing that.
Okay.
Yes.
Here we go. When conducting a boundary survey, which of the following is the most critical factor in determining the true property line? Is it A, current fence lines and structures, B, measurements from the last survey, C, legal descriptions in deeds and historical records, or D, opinions of adjoining property owners?
It's a great question. It makes you think.
Not sure about that last one.
No, there's value in that.
But the most critical.
No.
I have a question.
Yes.
What would you call D?
Always does this.
What's that?
What is D called?
Communicating with the landowners.
I believe it's called parole evidence. If it's been quite over a decade since I took my license test, but I believe they call it parole evidence.
I think you're right. Way to embarrass me.
It's like the only thing I remember.
Here's how you do find out the answer to this. Check out nlcprep.com.
You could do that. You could Google it. That's an option. So the point is, if you will send us your guess to this, we put those names into a random
completely random picker
bin.
Yep.
And we draw a name.
Yeah.
We draw a name. Yeah. And then we send you what was it? I don't know, $10, $20 gift card or whatever we decide we'd do. I can't remember.
You should probably know this since you do it every week.
Well, for this one, we'll say 20.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah. So hopefully we get a bunch of people guessing.
Yeah.
We've had some pretty good activity on the previous ones.
All
so
right. I'll take your word for it.
Send your guesses to info@thegeoholics.com. And to find out more about NLC Prep, go to nlcprep.com.
Yep. One more. We got to get our guests in here.
My favorite. I love this part of the show.
Yeah.
The GeoNet count of the week. GeoNet is the world's largest blockchain-based RTK network, providing RTK service precise enough for professional survey, construction, and drones.
Here we go. Current count, 14,865 satellite miners, up from 14,542 last week.
These guys are killing it.
They really are. 4,377 cities, 142 countries. Find out more. Go to geonet.com. Of course, that's geodnet.com.
Yep.
Click on Find a Hex tab, see if you can put one on your house or place of business, and start making money. Every week I ask this question. Kent, how is that project coming along, putting the miner at the house up in Pine?
Okay, so
you know. That you could just, this next little blip here is an excellent opportunity for you.
You asked me that question, and you somewhat know the answer. I did some research this weekend when I was in Pine.
Okay.
I had to check to make sure my upload-download speeds, because it's pretty remote up there, were going to be sufficient for a GeoNet miner.
And are they?
I found out that they are just fine.
Okay.
So next step is ordering it. So what I did is I sent Larry Fox a message. Where can I buy one of these things?
Oh.
Because you go on the GeoNet website and there's like a list of like 12 different suppliers, I guess, where you can buy them.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Larry, where should I go? Which one of these should I buy from? He gave me his recommendation, and I will be purchasing it this week. Okay. Is that better? That's progress from last week.
It is
that is progress.
The bare minimum possible progress. You still haven't actually done anything. You just tapped a couple of tappy taps on the laptop and called it progress. But I can't knock any small, tiny, minuscule step forward. So I'm excited about where you're going here, and I'm more excited about hearing about the purchase and when it's going to show up next week.
You know what I'll have to do once I do purchase it, which will be this week. Yeah. I'll post my receipt on our social media.
Well, you got to do a little video opening. Like, hey, look at here's the miner.
I could do that,
and then we can video you installing it.
Well, hold on a second. I'll probably hire somebody to do that. All right. One last thing about GeoNet, because we mentioned Larry Fox at Bad Elf. Yep. They have teamed up, that being GeoNet and Bad Elf, to provide what truly is an amazing offer. For literally $999.99, you can get GeoNet RTK services for 5 years. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. GeoNet is also offering to place a base station should there not be a base station within 40-kilometer radius of your operating area when you do a 5-year commitment subscription. To find out more about this, go to bad-elf.com/GeoNet.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And they say anywhere. So you could be at a remote place.
Yes.
And for $1,000, you can get there for 5 years.
There are certain things happening in the geospatial world that are actually moving the needle.
Oh yeah, these
guys are one of them. Mm-hmm. No doubt about it.
All right, let's get this pony show on the road.
Of course, our guest this week is sponsored by David Evans and Associates. What sets DEA apart, even more than the quality of their work, is the quality of their relationships and the commitments they make. The DEA difference is reflected in 6 commitments and the seriousness with which they make them, clarity of expectations, which I've become very familiar with, effective communication, which I'm good at that, accountability, collaboration, good at that, creativity, awesome, and most importantly, trust. Find out more at DEAinc.com. That's DEAinc.com. Guess who we've got with us tonight?
I'm excited.
You couldn't guess already.
This guy is a legend.
He is, yes. He's leaving an amazing legacy.
Yes.
No doubt about it, which we're going to talk to him more about. We have Ted Knaak with TopoDOT with us this evening. Born in Philly. Grew up in South Jersey, I believe. He attended Brown and Drexel, where he received undergrad and master's degree in electrical engineering and mechanical engineering. Interesting. Mm-hmm. Hobbies include going to the gym, boating, biking, hiking, walking, and travel. He is the president of TopoDOT, LLC. Passions include putting a dent in the geospatial universe, which we're going to get into more.
I like that.
Career highlights in 1992. This is amazing. Founded Riegl USA with Dr. Riegl. Crazy. And in 2011, he spun off TopoDOT LLC as an independent company. Today, TopoDOT is the industry leader, I would say, with several thousand daily users in their community. Ted Knaak, welcome to the Geoholics.
Well, thank you, guys. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes. And you know what? You're going to get a kick out of this. When somebody asks me who the most famous geospatial person is that I have in my context, guess what I say?
Ted
Knaak.
Yeah. Quick question. How many people ask you who's the most famous geospatial person in your phone?
It happens more times than you would think.
Okay.
Every time he passes the mirror.
Hey. Anyway.
Well, hey,
you.
I was really impressed and I was honored, and then you guys just killed it. Thank you.
We really had a good thing going here.
I appreciate it. So
leave it to Sean. That's what he does.
Right
out of my set.
I was feeling good. I was speechless, and Sean just brought me down to earth. And I was, between Sean and Russ, I'm going to feel like another schmo right here.
Oh, stop.
Yep. You know what? Maybe there will only be one Geoholic doing the keynote speaking.
We'll see. I don't know. We'll see.
You might have just got kicked out.
Yeah.
Do you have an icebreaker?
I don't. Do you have an icebreaker?
Let's do a quick one.
Do you have one?
Well, I was just curious what Ted's first car was.
That's a good one.
Whoa. Oh. Well, okay. First car that was mine, I guess, because it drove my dad.
You can't use Dad's station wagon as your first car. Unless you purchased that.
It was it was a Ford Pinto, and it was not popular with the girls. Anyway, no, the first one was a Mustang 2.
Mustang 2.
Mustang 2.
What year? What year?
Oh gosh, how old am I? So it was in 1970, no, 70 something.
Oh, okay.
It
So
was
yeah, I
one
was
of
like,
the.
yeah.
It was in a time. You guys aren't even old enough to remember. Like so it was this time when cars got really weird. It was
Mhm.
called K cars were around, and
Yeah,
then the
I remember.
bumpers had to get really huge. So because they realized like cars were just getting smashed, for with little, you just
Yep.
thousands of dollars if it just bumped something. So they had these huge bumpers and things, and everything looked weird, and everything turned to plastic, and it was kind of a.
Yeah.
There's no K cars. There's no Mustang classic K cars around. But it was pretty
Yeah.
cool. It was fun.
I'm looking at the.
I bet you that was popular with the ladies.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Yeah,
I'm looking at the
yeah.
I'm looking at the Mustang 2, and I'm hoping that when you bought that, they gave you a testosterone shot. Look at this thing.
It's well, I can't say I remember. Mine looked pretty sporty.
I'm sure it did.
Well,
sure
Those might be rose-colored lenses.
Yeah, it was, but it was.
I bet you that was a sweet car
I'm
back in
teasing.
the day.
Yeah, I had
It looks
it
like-
was a four-speed manual. I was, yeah, it was red interior, white.
Nice.
I remember it well. Yeah, it was great. It was a great car.
It's awesome.
What about you, Russ?
First car that I owned was a 1992 Mazda 626 that I owned by myself, and the first car I ever drove was a 1990 Hyundai Tercel. No, Accent, hatchback red Accent. That was my.
I had an '87 blue hatchback Honda.
Of course you did.
Oh, that hatchback, man! I put some big speakers back
Yep.
there. Oh, it was so sweet.
Yep.
I was the coolest guy.
Remember the CRXs? Those Honda CRXs?
Oh, those CRXs.
Yeah, those are huge with speakers.
We would like put the whole thing would just all be speakers, and it was like a little ball rolling around, just vibrating. It was so fun.
Oh
man, I missed out on that apparently.
Yeah, different time.
Different times. Different times.
Well, what was yours, Kent? Real quick.
1974 Dodge Charger.
That's right.
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
That was a nice ride. That was
Yeah.
that was nice.
Yep. We paid, my dad and I paid $400 for it. And, I mean, it was rusted and everything. And we freaking bondoed the shit out of it. I put a $99 Earl Scheib red paint job on it, bought some Craigers and put a stereo in it. And it was the freaking shit, man.
That's awesome.
That's great. It
The
was
Craigers
awesome. I got a
was
picture of it.
Expensive thing on the car then.
Yes, no doubt about it. No, it might have been the Equalizer. I'm not sure. It's a cross between the two.
No.
But it was a lot of fun. So anyways, Ted, man, we're so glad you're here.
I know we get to see each other a lot, but we never really get to have a whole session. So
We never really
I'm
get
excited
to
for this.
ourselves.
Yeah, I know.
We should take advantage of this.
We should.
Well,
So, Ted, how did you? So you got degrees in electrical and mechanical engineering.
Mhm.
How did that evolve into being more focused on geospatial?
Yeah, interesting story. I guess. Let's see. So I started out used my degree. I mean, our first kind of long-term job I was with General Electric, and I was a control systems analyst. So basically, and when I was there, I had just graduated with my master's in electrical. So I was in the electronics part, and then I went to control systems. And if you know satellites, you have to keep them pointing in the same place on the Earth. And so a control system basically makes sure that everything kind of lines up with the Earth, the sun, everything else, and points in the right direction and keeps your antenna, your communications, correct. So it's pretty fascinating. And in that job, which is relevant to my geospatial background or career path, so to speak, I basically I developed and maintained satellites, and I worked a lot with orbit simulations. So things that the mathematics behind geospatial wasn't, was kind of, I did a lot of basically orbit simulations. So basically sensor simulations, how sensors measure. Well, we would simulate sensors and what their measurements would look like, so they'd be noisy, and how to basically take that noisy signal and figure out where you're pointed, things like that. Then you do orbit, where is it around the Earth, things like that. So basically, I did this kind of high tech stuff. Decided I wasn't a big company guy, and then I got to move down here. I fell in love with my wife, moved to Florida, got out of Pennsylvania, and down here, I started working in a place called Short Selector Optics, which was LiDAR. And oh, by the way, while I was at GE, I got my second master's in mechanical engineering. So just didn't have anything to do at night, so I just did that. So
too much time on your hands.
Way too much time on your hands, you know. At that time, people were like doing Rubik's Cubes and stuff. He's like, "Oh, I'll just get a second master's."
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah.
So I did that. So anyway, so I go to Florida. I learned about LiDAR, but it was pretty much a box, and you pointed at something. How far away was something? If we measured within an inch at maybe 10 hertz, it was huge. Like, it was crazy. That was crazy accurate back when I started. And so started small place, Short Selector Optics. Learned a little bit about selling stuff, and they made some interesting scanners and put them in different things, and I thought it was pretty cool technology. And I first saw the first point clouds a little bit there. They were scanning and putting mirrors in front of things, and very, very coarse stuff, but, you know, it was kind of cool. You could see, you know, they were doing some targeting things for some of the military guys there. But I only worked there a couple of years, and then basically what happened was I did what I usually do to make everybody at a workplace hate me. I told them what they should do and what they're doing wrong. So I made a lot of friends, and you know, and they.
Do you know Sean? Have you met Sean?
Yeah.
So I did that, and but they had to. I was doing pretty well, and then they gave me a brochure to translate from German because I speak German, and.
Of course he does.
Of course.
You know, I did that too when I didn't have time. So when I had some time. So anyway, so I was from Riegl, and at that time it was this Austrian company, and they had really nice stuff, and was much better than the stuff we were making in Florida. And I was kind of seeing this. The days were numbered at the Florida company, so I just basically called Dr. Riegl. Like I didn't call him yet. I sent him faxes. No internet.
God, that's awesome.
I know you guys can't envision that, but there was no internet, so I faxed him once a week, forever. Just told him, you should let me sell your stuff. And at that time, Riegl was maybe 15 people or something like that. It wasn't big, little schoolhouse in Horn, Austria. And I think the first time I talked to Dr. Riegl, he was getting back to me. He was emailing me a little bit, or not email, I'm sorry, faxing. And then basically the night my son was being born, and Robin kicked me out of the bed. It was just, you know, we went in for a C-section, so like we knew it wasn't like labor. I had to go leave. It was just like, okay, we got to be up, get out of the bedroom. We're getting ready. She kicked me out of the bedroom. I wasn't helping, you know, and I said, I'm going to call this Austrian guy. So like, you know, and then I'm just going to call Dr. Riegl, and I called him, and we started talking. He said, well, come over. And then Rob's behind me said, who are you talking to at 5 o'clock in the morning when I have to go to the hospital? I said, well, Dr. Riegl. So, you know, so that's, so anyway, it just meant to be. So I flew over there, saw him, and I said, you saw Dr. Riegl? And he met me one evening in a little inn, guest house, and, you know, they call him. And once I spoke German, that helped a little bit. And then I said, you know, I know this LiDAR stuff. I can sell it for you. You need me to sell it for you. And so he gave me North America, and he said, I got a little contract, 3 or 4 pages. It was all stupid, but anyway, he gave it to me, and that's where I got into LiDAR. And the other thing, and then we started the first LiDARs. We were doing a lot of like industrial stuff. It was still really at distance. The scanners weren't really mainstream when we started. It was 92, and we sold a lot of things in steel mills and whatever. You have to know how much molten steel is in something, whatever. But the LiDAR side, and they started then as the LiDAR was getting faster, they started spinning mirrors. And I think my first real point cloud was when I sold a laser that the Carnegie Mellon University Field Robotics Center, they put a spinning mirror in front of it, and it was the first like point cloud that was just amazing, you know. And Riegl, so I sold them the laser, and they made the scanner out of it. So that was interesting, and I said, wow, that has real potential. And everybody looked at the point cloud; it's going to be amazing. And everybody looked at all the stuff they can do. Of course, it took a little while longer before it really kind of you know, became a product. But we did that. So that was the beginning. And then it was interesting as we got. into more and more of the, once we started scanning, and then all of a sudden I got into the survey world a little bit because everybody saw the potential, and Riegl always did long distance scanners. So they were doing 100 meters, which was big in the day, and then there was 200 meters, and because a lot of the phase-based scanners could only go inside with no sunlight to only go 30 feet or something like that. So the pulse scanners that Riegl made would go a lot further, and so basically we were doing outside mines, open pit mines, things like that, and I started running into surveyors everywhere, and they said, well, you got a target, and you put a nail down in the ground, or whatever, and you had to tie all this stuff together. Well, interestingly enough, that kind of all brought back these memories of these orbit simulations I did, because I could do coordinate transformations in my sleep. It was just if you do satellite orbit simulations, you can map, you can do coordinate transformations, you can do a lot of the math that basically guys do every day in the geospatial world. And then we started, as we were selling scanners at Riegl. I mean, it was tough. It was there with Dr. Riegl 17 years. First year sales were $5,000. Dr. Riegl wasn't too happy. Robin, my wife, wasn't too happy. And then, but when we finally, long story short, well, we were very successful. I just learned how to sell and what to do, and it was a slow going, but I think when we actually kind of spun off with TopoDOT, it was like 12 million in sales or something, and we just kind of did that with commissions. I just kind of found you had to sell or die. So
Ted, real quick, because I know Russ has got a question for you. He's dying to ask you.
Oh no, it's okay.
When you said, Ted, and I love this, that once you learned how to sell, what did you learn that made you successful in sales when it came to Riegl?
A good story. So I'm kind of fearless in talking to people. That was never a problem. But the bottom line is, I think my biggest fault the biggest drawback I had was that I was a fountain of information, right? So, and I grew up in when my technical side was an area where, you kind of, when I worked at General Electric, you were always kind of competing with people about the best ideas and what to do, and you're wrong, whatever. Well, if you want to sell to somebody, you don't tell them they're wrong. That's kind of what I learned. And
how hard was that for you, though? You seem like one of those guys.
It still is. I mean, from that, I tell you what, it still is. But I just if I'm listening to Kent, I'll just listen for a while and not tell him. But
that's good.
But the thing is,
I understand.
Yeah, but it was actually a good story. There was just to put it in perspective. So I was in U.S. Steel, and we were going to sell these Riegl equipment that measured molten steel levels, and just a laser rangefinder, and basically this guy was in the maintenance room, and there's a big kind of a table, and everybody's meeting there, and it was a big sale for us at the time, like $50,000-$60,000, right? So. And but this guy wanted to do something, and it wasn't going to work. But I explained to him exactly why it wasn't going to work, how it wasn't going to work. How could you even think this was going to work? There's no way. But let me help you, and I'll help you do it. And so when we left, my partner at the time, Jim Van Rens, who's still at Riegl USA, he just said, Ted, he said, I knew you were right. That guy knew you were right. Everybody in that room knew you were right, and they were never going to buy from you. And look, and I said, he said, you can't beat people up and then have them buy from you. So, and I realized, and that was like, I guess so. I guess you're right. And like I said, it was sell or die. So I said, okay. I really it was an epiphany. I realized Jim was right, and I just started listening more. So how do you sell? You listen more, and you have to understand. And I actually feel better about it. I really embrace sales now because I say, all right, how do I make people's lives better? Mm-hmm. Everybody comes to you with a challenge, a problem. They want to be successful, and success means different things to different people as opposed to where they are. If they're what position they're in, what makes them successful in life, in their job or whatever. And so I'd say what I learned about sales and learning that was just to basically really listen and have people will tell you what they want you to say almost, what they want to hear. And I'm not that kind of person. I will tell them the truth. I just don't, the salesperson said, yeah, I can do it all. You'll be great. But I find a way to get them there if I can, if I'm the right solution. And if I'm not, I try to put them in the right direction and say, good luck. I mean, I'll help you get the right solution. And people come back to us, come back to me for a lot of reasons. I've just developed friendships that way. So I've really looked at the whole sales experience as more of just, just putting a dent in the universe or making, the world a better place. Yeah. You help people to be successful.
I love that. It's like you're listening to their expectations, and then there's reality. And if you can close that gap, you're going to make a sale.
But it's also in the software kind of it's in the space where you can. I've heard this before from other software guys of I can actually make a difference in someone's life or in people in general's lives because there's a problem and this thing can bridge that gap and solve it. Sure. Where along the process for you, Ted, did you realize that was the impact, that you actually could make a difference and take that problem into not just like Kent and just okay, I'll just shoot a spot and charge you a lot of money for it, but actually do something that'll help people.
Yeah,
it sounds like a good business model.
I love your job description, by the
way. yeah.
Well, I guess. So we're along the line. So I think. So if you mean where did so with Riegl and selling the hardware side, that was I enjoyed putting something in that worked, and then all of a sudden this person's life was easier, and they accomplished something, and they had problems in production, whatever. And then in that sense, what I really, the way TopoDOT came about, which is the last part of this little story, I guess, is we were selling some scanners, the first ones, 50 pound metal scanners, and that was a small market.
Yep.
And it was oh gosh, he had to be younger in those days because the case with the scanner was like about 85 pounds, and I took that on airplanes. It was I was young then, and I couldn't do it now. But the bottom line was we basically started scanning things, and I remember being a particular spar. And I had sold 3 or 4 scanners, and we just said, well, this is how they work, and it's what you do. And we sold some software, third-party stuff that we thought was working because we didn't understand what a survey looked like. I didn't understand, I didn't know what vectors line work was. I didn't know what a topo was supposed to be. I just thought, the best thing, if you made a mesh, you were good, And and then the bottom line was, I remember being at a SPAR, that old conference, and back in the day, and about 3 guys just came and said, "I'm just losing money like crazy on your scanner. This is not working." I said, "Well, what doesn't work?" I thought, "Well, the scanner works, but this software, I can't get anything out." And so I said, "Well," I figured, "Well, this isn't a long-term solution. If the people that you sold your scanner to hate you, this is probably not a good business. It's not a good business to be in. So I better figure out what to do." So basically, the way TopoDOT really started was we had some third-party software from Germany. It was called Phidias. All my customers at the time called it Hideous, but it was.
I was just going to say, should have called Hideous,
right?
That's
yeah,
great.
And it worked to some extent, but it was pretty brutal. And we started. I just walked around, and it's just kind of me. I just went and I found a guy, Hubbard Construction. The guy who said. I said, yeah, I showed him the equipment, showed him the software, and he's like, he's not going to buy, but I said, look, I will do a mile or 2 of road for you for free. I will take this data. If you show me what you're talking about with this line work, because I was trying to explain it to you, can you do a, topo? And I'm like, I think so, but I didn't know. So he said, if you show me what I'm supposed to get out of this, because we were working in MicroStation, and we had all the tools there, and Phidias worked in MicroStation. I said, okay. He said, okay. He was very nice. And he said, okay, I'll do that for you. Like, so he did that. We took the Phidias software, hired 4-5 interns from UCF, University of Central Florida. Basically, the guys, some of the people are still there today, with us in TopoDOT. And we just basically used Phidias, and it took us 2 days to scan a mile, which was really good. I put it on a truck, and that was fast in the day. But it took these 4 guys 5 weeks to get a mile of topo out, just clicking.
Wow.
And we learned what it had to be, what a vector. And we went back, is this right? Is this right? Is this right? And he showed me and showed us what a seed file was. He just basically took us through the process. But then we figured it took us 5 weeks, and the guys figured out they clicked 40,000 times to get that mile.
Wow.
So it was like, so nobody was happy. And then I realized, well, from all these guys who were mad, no wonder I sold them the software. I called them all up and apologized. It was a nice talk. I said, like, I figured out what's wrong.
After you sold it to them, by the way.
Yeah, after I sold it to them, by the way. But they were understanding. I said, I just had no idea, man. I just thought if you spend a couple minutes getting a point, you'd be done in a while, So, so anyway, I just started telling people what to do again, and that didn't go over so well. And I told all these software guys, you guys aren't doing this right. And I said, you got to treat it like a signal. You got to think of it differently. You're just clicking on points and doing things. So I just walked in the other room where all the interns were, and I said, does anybody know how to program? I can show you. And then Mauricio, our lead.
Mauricio.
Where he raised his hand. He's 19 years old. I go, all right, well, let's give it a shot. So so here's what I want you to do, and here's how we'll do it, and here's how I want you to handle, and here's the math. And I taught those guys. I did some workshops on coordinate transformations. I said it's all about how you look at the data. I want you to make all this 3D data 2D data. I just want you to make it 2D. It also depends on where you put your vector and how you slice it. And when you slice it, make it 2D, and everything becomes a little easier to do. And he said, because everything's a profile, And I said, it's the same in a particular direction, right? So he said, okay. And he got it. 2-3 days later, I had buttons in MicroStation. I'm going, who the hell are you? I mean, what the hell?
Wow.
I said, I did not. He's 19 years old. He's got buttons in MicroStation. I found out later then, he had hacked into Final Fantasy, and he was working for me for $15 an hour. He was making 6 figures selling cheating programs in Final Fantasy online.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
And,
Russell just got excited, by the way.
Well, it depends which Final Fantasy. No, I'm kidding. There is like 16 of them.
I don't even know.
I'm kidding.
He had a year and a half run till the lawyers called him, and then and then it was over. But he got to keep the money. He just had to close down his site and do that. And that's actually how we made by the time. So we just kept developing tools. And Mauricio kept coming in for $15 an hour, just kept coming in and never late. Just said, yeah, this is cool. And we just kept developing tools one after the other. And that was the birth of TopoDOT. And we just took us about 4 or 5 years, sold a few. And then we decided to part ways at, Riegl. And I said, look, I really want to do this software. And, and then... Yeah. And then real equipment was getting too expensive. It was he had first $1 million airborne systems, and we just couldn't handle it as a reseller. I didn't have $500,000 in my pocket to go pay for it and then wait 40 days to make 10% or something like it. It just wasn't all working out. I was going to lose my house somewhere or something like that. So I said, let's just split up and we'll take this data, and we'll just, we'll take data from your scanners and anybody else's, and we'll figure out how to get, extract deliverables from them, So, and that's pretty much the story. That's how we got there.
GIS Certification Institute. Tony's one of my new favorite people.
I mean, he's hard not to like.
Love this guy. The GIS Certification Institute is a nonprofit organization established in 2002 to promote the advancement of proficient geographic information systems professionals through its international GISP certification program.
That's correct. The GISP certification is designed for individuals who have met minimum standards for ethical conduct and professional practice in the GIS field.
GISCI fosters rigorous professional and ethical standards, community engagement, and professional mentoring within the GIS industry.
Yeah, well said. To learn more, simply visit gisci.org.
MHG commercial. Welcome to the Geoholics friend of the program. Love these guys. MHG Commercial, a division of My Home Group, is a commercial real estate brokerage based in Tempe, Arizona, offering over 100 years of cumulative expertise in various property types, including commercial, industrial, retail, land, investment, and multifamily properties.
That's right. MHG Commercial emphasizes deep community involvement. Can attest to that, with team members actively participating in local initiatives, volunteering, and contributing to educational and financial causes, thereby fostering strong relationships within the community.
The firm is committed to building partnerships based on trust and integrity, offering transparent and informed relationships with an experienced team of professionals to meet diverse client needs in the commercial real estate sector.
That's right. I mean, if you're looking for an office space and you want to work with some great people, check these guys out. To learn more, visit mhgcommercial.com.
Like at that point in time, did you have a vision, or were you just like, let's just go with this and see what happens? And compared to where you are now.
Ted always has a vision.
Well, Ted will tell you he has a vision, whether or not he does or not.
That's where we're on this show, is to actually find out.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. So thinking like epiphanies, I walked through Intergeo. You've been to Intergeo?
Yep.
We have.
So, big conference in Germany, biggest in the world for geospatial and survey, right? It's about 13,000 people there from around the world. I'm walking through in the early days of mobile LiDAR now, and Riegl had his first mobile LiDAR system, and there was I remember, but it was some from Japan and whatever, and they're all $2 million systems. I'm walking around everywhere, and I'm just amazed that I just see nothing but point clouds. And at this point, we had TopoDOT underway inside of Riegl USA. We started having a product, right? So we started doing these tools. And inside a microstation, because we figured out we could program inside a microstation and do some cool things, right? That's what Phidias did, but we just took a whole different approach to how we handle the data. But so we were doing that, but I just walked around and I said, "Where's all this data going to go?" Because there was nothing. There was no software that did anything useful. And having had software that did nothing useful, and selling software did nothing, I realized this isn't going to work well. Everybody focused on the hardware. Nobody said, where's it all going to go? Where's all the data going to go? So it was part out of necessity. If I wanted to sell scanners, I was going to have to get software that worked. And then I saw an opportunity, just really said, the vision was, sure, I had a vision. I said, well, if we can make this good enough, I think we can sell it, and we can sell the software. And within Riegl USA, I'd sold like 8 or 9, 10, 12, maybe something like that. And they were all working pretty well. And it was early on in TopoDOT. It wasn't as automated as it was now. But it was still really the best stuff. It worked. It was the only thing that really worked. So I did have the vision. I said, well, let's just keep going for this ride. I'd expected that I could someday I would just sell TopoDOT, or somebody would buy it for something. I'd make some money and work for somebody else. But it just kept going. And so it's having too much fun now. So
yeah. How many users do you think you have right now?
If you we track that. We try to be honest with it. So like we sell a lot, but what we do the days, so it's pay for usage.
Oh yeah, right. Yep.
So we kind of start fresh every year. We set it to 0 in January when everybody pays their bills and all, and we start again. So we kind of have a pretty good accurate count. So right now, I'd say it's somewhere 5,000. By the end of the year, it'll be 7 or something like that. Wow. It's just, and those are active users that, first time. So it's not the same person again and again. I'd say every week. every week TopoDOT gets opened up we're up to about 4,500 times. It gets open. They could be the same people in there, but
that's amazing.
It's 4,500 times around the world.
Yeah. I think Russ is probably 1,000 of them.
I'm up there.
I know. We love Russ. It's funny. Everybody, once we have one of the things I learned, it's a competitive place, right? I mean, competition everywhere, but the geospatial guys, and they just it's always friendly competition a lot, which I really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
But when we have one banner that I made in the very beginning, and the first time I just put all the logos of the people that were using it, and I put them ranked them by how many user days they had. Once that was there, everybody, I remember, Joe Bruner from ESP, he was in the second or third row, and I said, well, you can get on the first row. You're not that far off. He just called on his phone now. He said, everybody open up TopoDOT every day.
I just open it up just to get the number. That's great.
Get the numbers up.
Awesome.
Bam. All right, Joe. So it's fun.
So funny.
We're having fun.
So funny. Yeah. You definitely have fun, no doubt. Russ, what do you got? I know you got some questions there.
Oh, well, I don't remember them now, but, that's right. So I was going to ask Ted, when you were talking about when you're making the Riegl terrestrial scanner, this is after Cyrex had come out, right? Because Cyrex, right, I believe was the first true scanner, right? The guy with the oil derricks.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, the scanner was invented to scan pipes on oil derricks, and it got 100 points, like what Ted was saying, 100 points every 10 minutes or something like that.
It was crazy.
It was slow.
Awesome.
You brought a sleeping bag to those jobs. I mean, you did. I will tell you, I started when we were doing the first scanners, and we were using another software called Polyworks, which worked really well, but Polyworks was more about making piece parts, and it was very tight meshes. It would do, you scanned every piece of something small up to an automobile, but it might take you 2 weeks to scan an automobile. I mean, you had to have these scanners that just you rub it all over, but it's all micron stuff, But anyway, we used that. We tried to make that work. And then I remember scanning one time in a shipyard for two ships that were pieces they were putting together, and every scan took 45 minutes.
Oh my gosh!
And it was 2 kilohertz. When you think it now, is it a meg yet, or megahertz or gig? Yeah, it's like 1 million points a second, right?
Oh yeah,
it's 1 million points a second now. At that time, it was big numbers were 3,000. 3 kilohertz, 5 kilohertz, 10 kilohertz. So we were out there. We worked overnight in a shipyard just watching this thing, and it was a pan and tilt, so it just went up and down, up and down.
Oh
you want to say you want to hate your life? You say wondering if you got into the right profession.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's what I was going to ask.
Soul crushing.
Soul crushing. Exactly.
It was soul crushing. It took forever. The Cyrex, you had to palletize it to get it somewhere. It was huge. I said that the Riegl was small and compact at 60 pounds.
It really was. We had
it'd be 100 or something. I don't know. It was crazy.
When I first started, we had a scan station too. It was from Leica, and it was big, like a big CRT TV, and you had a generator, and doing scanning outside or doing static GPS were my two favorite things when I was young, because you just sat there and read a book or whatever. Saying that, so you set up to do a while with a scanner, it'd be 45 minutes. You just sit there getting sun, watching people. It was great. Now it's too quick, like the Riegl and Leica, all of them. They just they just scan in a minute.
Yeah. Now you got to work.
Yeah, now you got to work for a living.
It was just leading edge. It was crazy. It was just, everybody was, there was no real market for it yet. I think the first markets got in the phase scanners, here in ZNF, Solon Froelich. They actually kind of the phase scanners worked inside because they're much faster. There's different technology. There's a pulse time of flight. So everything that works outside is pulse time of flight, and pretty much everything is now. But back in the day, you couldn't get the accuracy, and it was much slower. You couldn't pulse lasers that fast. But the phase scanners or a different technology way to get the distance. And but they always emit light. So the bottom line is you can have the background sun. You couldn't take them outside, and they just had no power to get real distance. And background light in the daylight would just wash them out. Nothing would happen. So inside with piping and stuff, they could do a scan in a minute or two and get a really dense point cloud that was pretty good. So really what took off was the inside applications piping and things like that. And those softwares like LMS were there and things that have been around. I still think it's there. I don't know. But it's kind of like a vertical world. We don't touch that world. Mm-hmm. And we just stuck outside because we started and said, well, Riegl's got really good long distance scanners. And the whole business model was like, well, there's a hell of a lot of roads. I'm just going to do those, That was pretty much my plan. That was my vision. You want to know my vision? There's a crap load of roads everywhere. I'm going to try this.
There, see, told you. It was there. It was there. So fast forward a little bit, because you did talk about a little bit when you said you went to InterGeo and you're like, where's all this data going? And then so you get really good at all the buttons, building buttons and doing everything. Talk a little bit about TopoShare and how you got to that point, because you told me the story before, but it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So. And this is kind of my recent passion. You guys were asking me a little bit, and it's about the dent in the geospatial universe. This is my similar.
Talk about that.
So the first step really was how do you create a deliverable, a digital twin, and how do you reach a productivity level where you can make money? And then mobile LiDAR really put us on the map. And the reason was you could still buy a static scanner and some other software, and I don't mean to disparage any software, like Cyclone or something. It is what it is. It worked. You picked out points, and it worked like a surveyor thinks, right? And that's how they developed it, and that's okay. But
it's really interesting.
But you could still get by because the scans were slow. You could still kind of like the same guy that scanned could come back and then get the points out, and it would take a long time, but you could do things. Once you spent $500,000 or more on a mobile scanner, all of a sudden, the reality of the life just like hit you in the face. If you run this thing for a day and you get 20 miles of data and it takes you 3 months to get your deliverable out, you ain't paying for that scanner,
Right now.
And that was the thing that said, everybody just said, okay, now we were pushing TopoDOT. We said, look, we can hit so we were just all about productivity. How fast can you do it? We stepped away from the model, the software model of we're going to add intelligence in as you're extracting. So we're not going to like click a point and say that's edge of pavement, the EP this, and then click the next point and say it's connected to this one. We just say connect the line, just go get the line. Go to where you're going to go, get to the end first, and then I use signal processing techniques to do that. So we focused on productivity, and we made these things successful. Now, where we are now is that I don't think the promise of point clouds hasn't been totally met, has been totally filled. Everybody looks at a point cloud and tells you exactly all the things that are in it, everything you can do with it, right? But the reality is we're still I call it a linear delivery universe. We're still in the business model that surveyors are traditionally accustomed to, is that they'll get requirements, they'll capture data, however now they do it with mobile LiDAR or whatever, but they extract what they need, they get paid, they move to the next project, the data sits there. And and there's a lot of reasons for that. Even though we know you can get volumes out of it, you can get clearances, operations can use it, planning can use it, and safety can use it. We have all these tools to do that. They rarely get used. They rarely get used downstream. And there's a lot of value to that. So the question I said, why? Because all the people that do this are very smart. But we realize now it was the business model, the data governance. Basically, the problem is pretty straightforward. Is that after you deliver it, a surveyor is the first front end of pretty much every project. So you'd make that first deliverable, and then the engineer that might need some information out of that doesn't know you are. You don't know who he is. And there's hundreds of people, and there's no way to reach them. If you think about it, there's no way to reach and say, I've got really good data here. By the way, how do you get to 100 people that you don't know that might need it 8 months from now? when they're building the road, or a year and a half from now? How do you get to them? Even though they don't know, they can't, there's no, and that's why it all sits there. And that's why everybody will tell you, DOTs, I go, the data's stacked up this high, right?
Yep.
Everybody gets a deliverable and they deliver it. Okay, I want the data with the delivery. And the guy in the DOT puts it in the drawer. There's that hard drive with the other 36 of them down there.
Right.
And everybody will tell you that. And the thing is, and so I see that as kind of my next passion, my next goal. I said, I want to break that down. I want to say, what can happen? So how do we do that? So so the way TopoShare came about is we had a data governance solution in TopoDOT for a long time. And so we call it TopoShare Basic now. You get it with TopoDOT. It's just, how do we handle data? Because back in the day, when we started TopoDOT, it was 32-bit machines with MicroStation, and MicroStation was the best CAD platform for point clouds to bring them in, right? And it would take in 80 million points, and that would kind of bust it. So let's say 60. That was a lot for that, but that's not a lot in a point cloud world or along a highway. So we had to understand how to cut up the data, how to be really efficient. So basically, on your hard drive, we would just do this tiling that everybody's done to some extent. But since we have really talented programmers, we just have nice little icons that you click and you go, oh, there's data. I want that one, that one, that one. It will come off your hard drive, and that's how you grabbed the data. So you had to grab it, then get rid of it, and grab the next tile or next 3 tiles, get rid of it. You had to manage that. So we were doing data governance like this for a long time. And data governance is, how do you assure the quality? How do you make sure? How do you share it? How do you store it? All that stuff, right? So we were doing that. So those techniques were there. I got a call from Paul Giacobbe and Paul when he was with. He's with us now, but he was. We always wanted to work together, and we finally, got together. So it's a nice story. But Paul was with Mazer at the time. And it's Collier's now, but and he had called and said, Ted, got this job in WMATA, which is the Washington Area Management. Anyway, they do the subways, transportation in Washington D.C. So he said, it's a subway. But they want to. Do you have anything that handles data? They want to share data. They want to look at it. They want to do things, right? They want, and they want to see, and so. I said, no, I don't have anything. We just extract. You're going to have to, I don't have anything. It works in the hard drive and all that, but, our hard drive, but we haven't done anything like that. And then they used a company called Ugrid, which they did a nice job. And you could actually go in and spin it around and rotate it. And it was all in streaming and online. But the problem was annually to run that, cost more than it did for the whole 80 or 100 miles of subway, which was like maybe $80,000 or $100,000 job. It cost like $60,000 a year to stream the data, to put it there. And I go, for like 100 miles. I go, well, $60,000 a year. And Paul told me, he said, this isn't a business. I mean, this isn't going to scale, right? So they use it for the subway, but I just saw, well, this is kind of an opportunity. And I looked into it and I said, either they're charging enormous amounts of, got enormous of profits, or there's something I'm missing. And then we looked at it and said, oh, streaming and doing all this fancy stuff in the cloud is killing them. So I talked to the guys. So Mauricio and David, his brother, who's also he does our magic in TopoShare. And I said, we need a solution that can we put stuff on the cloud and just do our file-based approach. If we do file-based approach, file storage, file transfer, people really just want to know where their data is. I'm not going to go after the whole, spinning around.
Right. Yeah.
That's all streaming. We're going to skip that, because the big part I saw then, and it wasn't a big problem as well. Bottom line is, if you can share data, but we got to put a cloud. We need a cloud solution, but let's make it just take what we do and move it to the cloud. So now when you hit a link, it comes to the cloud and it brings it down. And then I don't care how long it takes. Don't want to stream. Don't care, because once it's cached, you can just download what you need. And then second time we find it on your hard drive, so it comes up in seconds, right? So I said that would be a good one. And it doesn't cost anything really, comparatively, relatively. It's nothing. Whatever it costs you to store your data, I said, we're just going to let our customers do their own data governance and build their own data warehouse. Why should I just figure I'm not going to get in the way? I'm not going to compete with Amazon and Azure for like cost. You know, I mean, let's say face it, they own that world. And I said, you know what? The streaming stuff, that's just a whole nother thing. If somebody does that well. And then I did look, and then I would study the some of the other customer, Pointera and the like, who had gone public, so I could kind of go look at their books.
Yeah,
which was very enlightening. And I said, I don't want to lose $2 million a year. That's not going to work. Right. I've been there. Robin was mad once at the beginning of this whole thing. She's going mad again. And I said, all right, so they're losing $2 million. That's not great. And then there's investors and all that stuff. But those rides can go up steep and they can come down hard. And I think it has there. But and again, don't want to disparage anybody. This is what it is. It's all public knowledge, right? You can just look. And I said, but I don't want that, and that doesn't make sense. So we're not going to play with that. And then, and we've just pushed it for a while. It just got better and better, and we got some, interesting. We bring the images down, but we got a pretty efficient. We basically made it work, and I will tell you the first, even the ones we're running now, which we have some very good. We have about 20 or 30 guys that are doing really well with it, but it's still the remnants of the prototype because we kind of built it on top of it, made it work. Version 2.0 is coming out at TUC this year, which is really exciting because it's really nice. We've rewritten everything. It's really a product now, but in the interim, we've learned from our customers. Like our DRMP is a good customer of ours. They have 1,500. Think of the data governance solution. They run. So there's a guy, Brent Bass at DRMP. He'll be there, and he'll be in the leadership forum we're having, talking about this kind of stuff. But Brent Bass runs about 30 people that are doing all their processing, right? And he's got about now they do a Southeast, pretty much Florida, all over Florida and North Carolina, a few. He's got about 1,500 projects up there now. He can open his laptop, find the intersection that you want, see if he's got data there. If he's got data there, he can close it, get it down, and he can just basically pull it down and get it within a minute. Russ, how long have you been? I think DRMP was kind of our first adopter. We always appreciate that. But then Langen was not far behind, really.
No.
Years ago.
Talk about that
and I would add that Langen, specifically the surveyor there, may be your most vocal advocate.
Hold on. Free plug. Don't get used to it.
Right. No. But I love talking about TopoShare. I think it's a great program. That's what I usually present on. And I'm excited because I heard that one of my feature requests is coming out in TopoShare 2.0. That Ted's talking about.
I do have to ask you, Ted, do you get the most feature requests from Russ, or do you have the ranking list of who is asking for the most stuff in your office?
The biggest pain in the ass.
Yeah, it's like your most wanted list.
Russ has been great. Now, and to be honest, they go around me now. It's gotten a little too big for me to kind of have my hands in everything, which is probably for the best. But the idea is, we learn a lot from our customers, and we try to do everything we can that within our mission, right? Sometimes when it's out of the scope, we go, no, that's not our scope, and we don't want to, but within the scope of the data governance stuff it's really helping, because the bottom line is what we're doing is, interestingly enough, I like to set things up where I don't think we compete with anybody for TopoShare, really. Because it's literally 150 times less expensive than what other people are doing with streaming and all that. So we're not competing. Yeah. They do cool stuff, and we're actually trying to support that, because the first thing you need to know where your data is, and we need to know what quality is and what you can do with it. And then you need to share and let everybody else know that you have this data, right? And that goes to the problem before of the paradox, so to speak, of I got all this amazing data with all this valuable information, and nobody knows I have it. You know, if Russ does something now in Langen and he just basically delivers a project, if you just deliver a project and you can have a conversation with 2 or 3 engineers and they might call you for something, but there's literally, there's 40 or 50 people out there somewhere that could really use it, but you don't know how to get to them. And it's not easy.
Somebody's paying for that, right?
It's very expensive to get to people.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like you have to amalgamate all this potential, right? And that's what I'm trying to do now. We're trying to do that in TopoShare. How do you capture some of this? So you don't, how do you find the guy who needs a clearance and is willing to pay $300 if you could get it to him in, a couple hours? That's that's cheap. If you send somebody out there, it's $2,000, right, or $1,500 to go, top of the bridge and get a clearance. Could take all day. Yep. And a lot of times it's in the point cloud, but nobody knows.
And what they may, and tell me if I'm wrong, but they may even know that it's that point cloud exists. Who can grab that dimension for them in that couple minutes?
That's the other thing, and that's the other challenge. Which who can grab it? You said who and can grab. Well, there's 2 things in there. Is it
okay? Maybe I should have said what magical software could do it.
Yeah, well, TopoShare. But the bottom line is, the thing is, what we do is we tell you organize your data first in your desktop, and you put it up there, and it's all tiled and whatever. And so it shows up on a map, a Google map, and you just click, and so you open up your map. Here's all my projects I have. That's the tile I want, and it just comes down. So, and then I want images there, and I want metadata, my control, whatever's there. It just sits in a bin with all your data. The first thing you want to do is catalog your data. You know what I do? You know what I'm trying to get to? And actually, I brought it up in a previous talk, but I'm going to kind of bring it up again. I would like some of my geospatial community to start thinking of themselves as manufacturers. Nobody ever picks that. Are you a consultant? Well, okay, yes. What does that really mean?
Yeah,
because if you
talked
think of
about
yourself
this
as a manufacturer, right?
Genius.
You build digital twins. Okay, call them digital twins with whatever deliverable it is or whatever analysis. You build that, right? But you always do custom builds. Somebody has requirements. It's got to be this, and it's got to be this. This is the thing I'm trying to answer, and this is the thing I'm willing to pay for. I'm not willing to pay for anything else except for this answer, this actionable model, or I need this volume. I need this volume, and this is where I need it, And no model can tell you that. You have to ask somebody, right? So the question is who? Because I will give a point cloud, a beautiful point cloud to 5 engineers, let them click on points and say, what's the clearance? I will get 5 different answers. If they're within 3 feet of each other, I'll be shocked. And that means, and a lot of these have a lot of liability associated with them, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure, yeah.
So the question is, the right person, you have to be able to get to the right person who can say, I will give you that. I will give you that. I can give you that. Now, the other problem in this little collaboration world is that the right person doesn't want to really hear from you 8 months from now and do it for free because it takes a lot of time. I got to listen to you for 45 minutes to figure out what you want. If you're an engineer and you found me and realize I have a point cloud, that's the other side where this doesn't work. Nobody's getting paid for it. If nobody gets paid for it, it's not a happy call. You want to help your customer. That's all great. Blah blah blah. But in reality, it costs a lot of money to answer the phone and to be talented and have the software there to give you the right answer. So TopoShare is designed to establish that collaboration, but there's a lot of work that has to be done in the business model. In the it's interesting. I've been talking to DOTs and the like that we're working with and say, look, you have no problem saying, I want an on-call, what do you call it, continuing services contract, Russ? Is that what it's called? And for 2 years, and the budget's there, and I will go. And if I need something, I just say, hey, go do it. Tell me how much it's going to cost, and it's all done. But I can take it from that budget. But there's no way they can pay for calling and say, hey, can you give me this measurement that you could give me in literally a half hour? You could give me exactly what I need, and save me $3,000 or $4,000 in 2 weeks of time. because I would wait for that if I did it, traditionally and send somebody out to the field. But I don't have any way to pay you. This is a big disconnect.
Yeah.
Well, no, you pay Russ, and then Russ calls you back, or the DOT pays Russ, and then Russ calls you, and then you give it to him in 5 seconds, and then Russ waits 2 weeks and sits on it, and then gives it to the DOT and charges them $5,000 for it.
And I sound really exasperated when I deliver it.
Sounds like a great business model.
To be honest, I've been on the losing end of that business model forever.
Right.
I have done jobs where people have gotten paid hundreds of $1,000s, and I got like my hotel room paid. I don't know. I'm an idiot sometimes.
Mr. Knaak, if could I be so bold as to explain my experience with your software with the TopoShare?
Love it. All
right. So the one thing that I've noticed, one of the things I've noticed is that the easier you make something, the more people will use it, right? So what Ted and the folks at TopoDOT did was they created a web viewer, first of all, instead of having most of the point cloud viewers are install free license, but you got to install them. That's a no-go right off the bat, right? Any DOT or government agency and a lot of companies can't just install software. So you got that. And then, so you get a web link and it's from your data and it's basically creates a web link and it makes like a 2D view, top down, just like Google Maps. Has a rasterized point clouds. You could put in the line work, whatever. But this is great for most people aren't technical, high level, right? You want to see where the extraction happened or where your survey is and where you have data. And I think the best thing is that the imagery is there. That's what most often a lay person wants. They just want to go in, and everyone knows how to use Google Street View, right? And that's what you can go in and you can see the imagery. That's what most people want, especially not technical people. They just want to see what's there and they want to see the cloud coverage. And then you want to get this in everyone's hands because for that reason, you might be working for the prime, but there might be electrical engineers. There could be landscape architects. There could be, you know what I mean? You want this to get matriculated to these people so on the scenario that they're going to say, hey, what's the height of this pole? What's the height of the sag? What kind of plan is that? And then that's where you're like, you come in with a really good price. That's an order of magnitude cheaper than going out in the field. How could you say no? I'm helping you and I'm giving you a great price. Win-win, right? For everyone.
Well, Russ,
that's a good point. I got to ask Kent, do you still have to go out into the field?
Yes. I'm still getting over the fact that Russ used the word matriculated.
Oh yeah.
I got some big ones.
I'm like, where in the hell? Where did he come up with this stuff?
I do want to interject here real quick, and I do want to interject real quick. We could talk about this forever, and we do need to transition into Tuck. But
no, I have a question.
But but I do have to say this first. Yeah. I did look up an AI overview's definition of data governance is a set of policies, processes, and roles that ensure the effective and efficient use of information, focusing on data quality, security, and availability throughout its life cycle.
Yep.
There's some legal issues here.
Yeah. Of course there are. Well, there always are, but
because who owns the data? That's what I'm struggling with just a little bit. I'm looking at Ted. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Does someone need to own the data?
Somebody paid for the data.
Mm-hmm. Well, somebody paid for it. Somebody owns it. How do you determine who owns it and who gets access to it?
So,
So let me just add in TopoShare, there's a project administrator. Now, either somehow they have to negotiate, they either own it or they've been given they've been asked by whoever really paid for the service, because a lot of times transportation departments say, here, you do it, you own it, we want to get back to you and ask, you're still working for us. But the bottom line is, and you can put the business model is what really has to evolve. And I think Russ is, Russ is leading the way in a lot of that ways, because you're actually doing it. But the bottom line is, the nice part about it is, you think about it, you share data with links. So what TopoShare Enterprise is, so we didn't talk about, well, it is a web portal, so to speak. You just go to a website and it goes a portal into your warehouse. But you think about the elegance of that is that instead of this common data environment being like that everybody talks about being one place, one platform where all this data is, it's actually the entire internet. And you can be very organic Russ can give you tomorrow, he can give you a link that he maybe, or a link for a project or group of projects. You can open it on a browser and you will see you look into those projects will show up on a map and you'll be able to see everything Russ has. You'll see these raster files of just, we don't load in 300 million points in a browser. It's just a raster file that we make ahead of time and put up there of where the data is. And that's all most people want to know. And then what's your line work? What did you extract from it? That's a lot for an engineer. They're already happy. And then a little click and anybody in the world can find Russ Hall and he's in charge of that data. So now you can share it with 10,000 people for nothing because it's a link. Mm-hmm. And now, so all of a sudden you've solved a lot of problems, not all of them, but you solved a lot of challenges about the collaboration, the cost, and the things. So who owns the data? I'll just let people figure this out. If they want to accomplish this and they want to use it, they'll figure that out. And that's
well, let me ask you this: if you're doing it for a DOT and the DOT says, "Hey, go out and collect this," don't we all own that data then? In some weird way, like
as a taxpayer,
it depends. It depends who's paying for it. That's what I'm saying. Is it a private entity paying for it?
Freaking taxpayers taxpayers are paying for it.
That is one example. Yes,
and I think a lot of this stuff you could say like that because I can go and get all the plans for it. Any DOT project plans are all out there because it's public, right?
Remember that guy we talked to at Intergeo this past year? I think his name was like Jaron or something. AI Infra Solutions.
Yeah.
They were scanning.
They scan like the
entire country.
Yeah,
basically, and then selling. They just had this huge data warehouse with all that information.
But they were providing that to people. Like that was their business model. We're going to collect it all, and then license it or sell it.
Yes.
I'm saying in some of these cases, Florida DOT hires Russ to go out and scan 5 miles. Mm-hmm. Russ sends them this big point cloud and all the points and the data.
Yep.
What do you mean who owns it? The DOT then owns it and they're just going to hold it right here. We're only going to give you.
Well, no. You don't give them a master like it's an audio track. You know what I mean? Like you still have all the data kept as a surveyor too, and then you give them a copy.
Let me answer your question there, Sean. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, please.
But to answer your question, well, first of all that data is sitting in somebody's desk right now on a bunch of hard drives, so it ain't doing the public any good as it is. Okay, so let's just start with that.
There's one right there.
Here you go. See, there they are. That's all the data that you ever need. So right there. So, but the thing is, here's what they could do with TopoShare. So they could actually go to just create a web page, and they could divide it up by districts if they wanted, and they could put every project they have a district there, and they could give people access and be able. And then FDOT could actually go and say, okay, we're going to give in the links. You can have access to download the data, so they can actually make it public through a link on a web page. If somebody downloads that link, goes to a browser, they can go click on any tile they want, and they could download the data, and they make it available.
GeoVera, another new friend of the program.
I know. People must like us.
So excited to have these folks on board. GeoVera is one of Canada's, I love Canada, largest geomatics firms offering land surveying, mapping, forestry, environmental, and geospatial solutions across various industries.
Yes, Kent. They serve sectors including energy, transportation, utilities, industrial, municipal, and mining, providing tailored services to meet specific project needs.
GeoVera employs advanced technologies to capture complex physical environments, delivering precise geospatial data throughout the life cycle of projects. To learn more, simply visit geovera.com. Esri. Esri is the global market leader in geographic information system software, location intelligence, and mapping.
Yeah, they take a geographic approach to problem solving brought to life by modern enterprise-grade GIS technology.
Beyond sophisticated maps and advanced geospatial analytics, Esri technology enables faster data sharing and more fluid collaboration.
That's right. They make the world's most powerful GIS software. To find out more, visit Esri.com.
Yep.
So my question back to what Russ was saying, and I don't want to interject, but it brings up a good point. Russ says, I don't I don't give them all the raw. I give them what the deliverable is.
Mm-hmm.
And contractually, I'm sure there's somewhere in there where somebody signed something that said either you only own what I give you and what you ask for, or you own everything. And you guys both may have some experience with this.
So let me ask you if it's
do they own everything? If they asked for a topo, or do they own only the deliverable? Because you can't just give them a PDF and say, "Oh, here's some lines. There you go."
So get this, and I think this is a parallel situation.
Okay.
So just recently, we had a project where we had a 2-mile long corridor where we had it flown, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just traditional photogrammetry. And the mapping limits were 100 feet north, 100 feet south. Okay. Well, here we are 2 years later, and the question was raised, hey, what is the information available like 500 feet further? So I reach out to the aerial mapping company, like, yeah, we have that information in the can.
In the can is what they call it. That's the drawer that Ted was talking about.
They have it, we have it in the can. And yes, we can definitely provide that for you, but it's going to cost you $30,000.
Well, because you got to fire up the archive motor and get that going to get it out of there, right?
Yes. I mean, it's genius.
What do you guys think about that?
That's a common practice in the industry.
But
I'm excited about it because really, we just gave everybody some tools to do this in another level, right? That's all. That's all we're looking at. I said, it's very organic. You think about it. Everybody could be all they do is a link and you can look into my data warehouse. And you can charge for it or not, because you can just have metadata that has the pictures and download nothing. Or you say, I'll give you a link and you can download this for this. You can make any deal you want.
But it was some smart guy that said, hey, maybe the guys that flew it have a little further past the limits because, you can't narrow it down that much.
That's me, by the way. I'm the smart guy.
But no, you're not, because you're not the guy charging $30,000 to just push 5 buttons and send you something that you already had.
What? You saved my client a ton of money.
Oh,
and
that, and what's the saying? That and two cents give you 2 cents or something. Whatever that is.
Whatever the 2 cents. Do you have something?
I want to move on, but go ahead.
I got this one because I know that Ted's going to have a unique perspective on this, and I love this question. I'm so glad I came up with it. As technologies are advancing at such a rapid pace, workflows are having to advance as a result to adapt to these advancing technologies. How do you think traditional survey and mapping companies need to adapt to stay relevant, Ted?
I think they have to. Okay. Well, it's a shocker, but I think they have to adopt some of the things I'm saying. So the bottom line is, but I think, look, it's a paradigm shift. It's a paradigm shift that we are taking now. You're not just measuring specific points. I mean, the traditional survey is always important, right? You've got to tie it all down to something that was mapped and surveyed and signed off. So I have all the respect for surveyors, but we all know there's not enough surveyors in the world as it is. So that's a problem. And then the other side is now what we do is technically we fill in the blanks with all these 3D pictures is what a point cloud fundamentally is, right? So the question is now you have to really understand that, and you go say, okay, what are the implications? So let's just you have to organize your operations. First of all, let's talk about the operational side. I mentioned before, and I really didn't get at it, but I really think you have to. One of the things that a geospatial company can do is really kind of take an approach of a manufacturer of consider your data warehouse your raw material, and you build stuff from stuff like that. But the thing about raw material, you got to know, does it meet my requirements? Does it meet all the things that you have to know if you're going to build something? You're going to build a widget. You got to know if you're taking stuff out of the warehouse. Is this the stuff I need? Will it meet the requirements? And then you have to get it fast. You can't put your warehouse like four hours away and you go by train to go get something, right? It's got to be there. It's got to be quick. And then you got to build. You got a whole team of guys just like putting it together, and you're organizing them. You're telling them what it's got to be and what this person needs. Well, there's an analysis and guys need something. So the bottom line is, you got to tell them what they need, and then you deliver it. So you've got a little production house going. And you can't just say, and then if you just had that and say, well, my raw materials are like way far, and we see this all over the world, by the way. people scan again because it's faster. It's faster for. We were in England, in London, and the guys were telling us it's faster to go out and scan again than just go find our data on this. Basically on the process they have now for storing it. It's so just funny. File names. They don't know where it is. They don't know what's in that file name. And it takes, and it's so big, it takes 25 minutes to download to look at it, right? So this is all I said, I'll just go out and scan the damn thing again, whatever. So it's all so inefficient because nobody's thinking about it this way. So that's this first side. The second side is you got to start looking at your business model and it's going to change. You have stuff that's value. Look at, Kent, you just said, and you guys were just talking, Sean, about these people selling their data, and they want to sell data. They've got thousands of miles of data.
Awesome.
We could go have a long conversation about that because I think there's complication and challenges there. But the bottom line is, you do have valuable data. Yeah, so how do you basically monetize that value? How do you collaborate how do you collaborate downstream? And I talk a little bit about actually moving the value proposition of survey downstream. And what do I mean by that? I think it's so critical.
Yep.
Look, everybody knows the reason that a lot of people and engineers, even now with all this cool technology we have, survey is what? 1% of a project. Talk about a transportation project, 10 miles of road widening, call it like that, right? Yep. It's 1%. It's like
can't be more than 1%.
What?
Can't be more than 1%.
Yeah.
How much is geotech?
Yeah, it's about a half. If that makes you feel better.
So you're playing here, but then every project has 10 to 15% change orders.
Contingency? Yeah.
Yeah. $10 to $15 million is spent on change orders.
Mm-hmm.
How many could collaborative effort, if people knew who to talk to, how to use that data, just, to get whatever they need. Let's pick one little piece of it. If their earthwork estimates now are within 1% instead of 20, okay? And they're just negotiating how many trucks moved or whatever the hell they do, right? What if, people got clearances, operations guys got clearances in a day and didn't get their truck stuck under a thing, or they couldn't get the cranes through, who knows? But the bottom line is this will all come back. The thing is, everybody has a story. Everybody has, about people looking into the point cloud and finding something that saves everybody a lot of money. Hundreds of thousands of dollars sometimes, right? But it's all a happy accident. What we want to do is make those happy accidents part of the routine. That this is how it works. Everybody's talking about collaboration. Everybody's talking about 3D and all these things. But the building blocks of the digital twins are sitting there in a closet or somebody's drawer, right? And they don't know where it is. And nobody knows who to get to it. And plus, it takes the modern surveyor, the modern surveying operation, has to have the expertise to be able to extract from that. It isn't easy. If it was easy, we're wasting a lot of time trying to teach people how to use TopoDOT, day in and day out. It's not simple to go, extract. You have to, and then there's a liability issue. Who touches that data? Making data available to everything is one thing, and that's where I think these guys that have all this data and they're just going to sell it, that's where they fall short. They come back and go, people don't know what to do with it. And there's liability associated with it. I had to explain to somebody who had that millions of dollars doing autonomous stuff, right? They're doing autonomous vehicles, and it worked for them, and they have their line work and whatever. But I said, look, they want to go into engineering, and they think it's all valuable. I said, you can't be off 5 centimeters on a curb line, or somebody's stopping operations and paying like $100,000 because it's $20,000 a day when the trucks are stopped, figuring out why nothing matches up. And they looked at me. They were just.
And I want to interject with there because I think when I hear Ted talk about this, and how the survey, back to your original question, and how that modern surveyor is going to evolve, I think it's just. What I see is we're just chipping away at the data collection portion of what we used to think the survey industry is. And I think it's going to nail down to just the quality part and determining what's right, and how all the other points are collected is everything else. And survey is just of the
the control.
The control and the verification and some civil guy is going to go to, in 10 years, some civil guy is going to go to TopoShare and pull down a bunch of shit. And he's going to be like, all right, I have all this shit. It can save me hundreds of $1,000s, but if I just use it all, but I do need to make sure it's right. And then he's going to call you to make sure it's right. Or he's going to see how to adjust it.
Sure.
And I think that's where that manufacturing aspect of data is going to come in, where the old days where you just go around and shoot points with the data collector, that's ancient. Like now this is the minimum amount of time we need to spend in the field to accurately verify, I guess, or validate all the other data that's already out there.
Sure.
And that guy's going to take it. He's going to see it ahead of time. Then he's going to contract you as the survey company to go out and say, I need to check this. I need to check this. I need to check that spot on the curb line because that's my critical spot. And if that's all right, then I can rely on everything else.
Sure.
Can I also answer this question?
I don't think you're wrong. But
go ahead, Russ.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to jump in over you, Kent. I just wanted to say I think the technology is going to affect. I think people are going to have to start adopting it to become more efficient. And if you want to scale, it's best to invest in not just reality capture, but just drones or whatever it is. That's going to give you you don't have to hire more people to do it. And
and that's my point. Like that traditional model's gone. It's how do I get as much data collected in any way, not the traditional way in any way, and then use the traditional survey stuff to what it really should be.
Right. So
here's what your control is. Here's how you validate that. Here's how that's off. And
that's I think I'm the only mobile scanner that I know of in the country where our focus isn't roads. Like there's a lot of people that all they do is DOT work. They do highway. We focus a lot of our scanning. Everything I do specifically is to replace like a survey that someone else went out in the field. So I actually I took a couple of years and we focused. We got really good at being extremely efficient, like a Henry Ford style. So we have the people doing the traditional, they do the boundary, they do the control, they do the targets, they measure the building, they do the inverts, they move to another site. Yeah. They're there for a few hours. Then the scanner comes. Then the scanner moves, and everything just goes. And then we can collect several sites in one day, and then I can distribute it all over the country to the people who do the extraction. And now, instead of having, let's say, a week per site of traditional surveying, we have all three sites are going at the same time concurrently being done and being pushed forward. And then
I think that's a really great use case, because that's exactly what I was saying is those are two different worlds.
Yes.
It's, get the control, get, these critical things, and then move. And then the other guys come, they just scan the shit out of it and then snap it together. And then there you go.
Yeah.
And all the different cases are going to come downstream later with, okay, I have all the data, but I don't have good control, or I have some control and I have an Alta, but I need, and that's what I think Ted's really going back to is don't go back out there and recreate all this stuff. Go find what's there, because it will be there easily, retrievable. Fill in the gaps with whatever use case you need as an engineer or whatever, and boom, there you go.
Speaking of streams, my bladder tonight
noticed.
I just got to go like every 30 minutes.
Okay, Ted, we could probably spend another hour, but we have to loop in the user conference. You mentioned it a couple times. Give me you're going to have to, we love talking to you, but you're going to have to give us the brief history of we've been doing this and what to expect at the upcoming event here up in early May.
Right. Okay. So TUC is our TopoDOT Users Conference, TUC 25 now. So we've been doing this since TUC 16. We go by the year.
Wow. That's cool.
So it's been quite a while. So it's the only user conference like this in the world where you just focus on processing, and point clouds and extraction. Nobody else has anything dedicated to this. It's very hands-on. It's at we hold it every year at a university between semesters. So we have all the university classrooms. We have everybody has a computer. All the technicians have their own laptop computer that processor so they get to hands-on and talk. So we teach them how. So we teach them basically how to go through the process of extracting deliverables, and whatever that happens to be, and we have a lot of fun there. And then we have, of course, the synergy there, synergy is remarkable. You meet a lot of people. We have a lot of great sponsors. So there'll be people out there like, well, I'll miss somebody, so I won't start mentioning them, but all the major, system providers. We have some new guys coming, in addition to the Riegls, the Leicas, the Trimbles. We have Navis is now on board and things like that. So there's kind of
cool. Geospatial podcast.
Consult.
Sorry, I had something caught in my throat there, Ted.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. Okay. Anyway, bunch of that. So then we'll do, and then this year we have a leadership forum where we're going to kind of invite everybody in, and basically we have a pretty distinguished group of people that have actually signed up for this, and to talk about what we're talking about tonight. Like, how do we attack this? Everybody, the comprehensive nature of the data makes it so valuable. How do you exploit that value? And I really, how do you enjoy some of the 10 to 15% downstream? How do you collaborate with those engineers to actually increase the value of geospatial data, because you can answer these questions and save them this money? Because you can save them a lot more money in construction than you can in upfront in a survey doing it faster, which is good. We do it better, faster, cheaper now, but that's where we want to do. That's what we're going to talk about. And so all that goes for a week. And of course, the headliners are amazing. I mean, we have a star-studded guys, starting with the Kent and Sean show, or
Abbott, aka Abbott and Costello.
Who's on first?
Abbott and Costello. I thought it was pretty good. I think you guys should do who's at the point of beginning, whatever.
Oh man,
we're gonna have so much fun.
Yeah,
we are gonna have a blast. So I want to mention this. I saw this today, Ted, that the pioneer sponsors of Tuck 25, Riegl, Trimble, Leica, Navis, 3DT, Scanfly, Phoenix LiDAR systems. Those are some of the biggest names in the
heavy
business.
hitters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been really, it's really gratifying. And then, to be honest, we had to turn some people away. Everybody waits till the last minute for whatever reason, but we said no. We just ran out of room. But it's just a wonder. You guys have been there before, and we've got you
awesome.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I will tell in front of the whole world here. You guys are the best sports, because we stuck you outside, and it was hot many days. And you're air conditioned this time. We got you. We got you covered.
We made it. We finally made it.
Made it inside.
We finally thought you guys were worthy, and we're putting you in AC. So,
man, all those sacrifices are totally
finally paying off. No, it is an amazing event. We look forward to it every year for sure. And I don't know. So can people still register then, Ted, or what's going on there?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Actually, Paul pointed out a lot of people wait to kind of see if they have bandwidth and they don't have projects, and they said, okay, I can send somebody, I don't have to get something done and get out.
Sounds like something Russ would do.
Yeah, Russ is looking at his work schedule right now, and he's like non-committal, been the whole time.
I'm such a procrastinator.
If you can meet Russ in person, it's really going to be worth it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Do you need to be an experienced TopoDOT user to show up?
No, what we do is we have basically a fundamental track and an advanced track, and you can start from not knowing MicroStation, although we have some things online to get you started that we'd let you think you should kind of get the basics down. But the bottom line is you can start with practically not having open MicroStation. That's a little tough. We like you just a little bit, but not much. You can start with so we have actually two tracks that are in the first 2 days. It goes 5 days, and they're running in parallel. It's fundamental and advanced. And then you have electives. So you want to do wall monitoring, for example. We have tools to do that. You want to do safety, obstruction, line of sight. We have tools that do that. We have simulation tools. So what kind of things will fit into your business model, best, and that's what we. And so you can select and choose from there. So basically, it's still open. There's still some spots left. Probably about 20 or so left. But there'll be a few hundred people there, and it's a lot of fun.
What Ted failed to mention there is the Geoholics track. This is the discounted version. And what you do is you just hang out with us all day long.
Just hang out with us.
We drink mezcal.
Yeah,
you just say drinking's involved, right?
Wait for the bar to open and skip all the smart tracks. And there is a deadbeat track.
The Geoholic tracks at the Vista K pool was by the bar.
We saw a huge uptick in registration after we said you guys are going to be the keynotes.
Yeah,
there it is.
It went crazy. It went crazy.
I love it.
We were getting calls from like little old ladies. Can I go?
Hey, that's our demographic.
I mean,
we are
spot, right?
popular.
That is the sweet
We are
spot,
popular
right?
with little ladies.
Yeah.
Yes.
We do have to wrap it up, guys. Ted, is there anything else? You've been great. I love the history, and I love the origin story. It's amazing. Anything else you want to get out there to the group other than show up to Tuck in a month and spend some quality time?
Show up to Tuck, and in the group. Look, if anybody. And I'm really, with all sincerity, basically, we like helping. I'm really passionate about the geospatial community. I think they're just adventurous guys. They try crazy things. I've seen so many over the years, which really impresses me. I've been on the bleeding edge. Now that it's coming online, the things we've been trying forever, that we've kind of made this new paradigm shift in the whole technology. It's opening up the world. So basically, I would say to everybody, don't ever hesitate to just give us a call if you have some questions. Just really, you want to talk about, can I use this? Will this work? I'll tell you, and then we'll just, I will tell you. And if it's not us, it has nothing to do with us, we'll help you. We just enjoy it. So I think that's what I can leave you with.
Yeah, very well said, as usual, Ted. Russ, got anything else?
Well, I will be speaking at TopoDOT, so you could see me there, and I'll also be at the leadership forum. I procrastinated and finally got registered today. So sorry, Ted. I kicked that can a little far.
I know.
I was getting multiple emails from different people. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I've been traveling, and also
truth be told, Russ registered 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, totally.
That's literally, no, I'm kidding. And that's it. Yeah, no, I look forward to it. It's always a great conference. It really is, and they do a lot of fun stuff in the evenings as well.
It is a good time.
Mm-hmm.
It is a good time. I think.
One of our favorites every year.
I mean, it's always on the calendar. So,
sure.
Ted, I got to ask you. I've asked this question before. You've answered it before, but I got to get it out there again. Do you have a mantra that you live by?
What's today's mantra?
Oh, okay. Okay. There's a few, but I tell you what. No, I will say, because every time we make a big decision, even with my wife, we'll say that no guts, no glory.
Mm-hmm.
If you think you can do it, go. Don't overthink it. If you think you might be able to do something, don't analyze it too much. If you got 60-70% of it, make the other 30 work. While you're doing
I love that. I love that so much.
It's awesome.
Like he's like my aspirational hero. Like he just does the shit. I mean, it's just awesome. So.
I thought Snoop Dogg was your hero.
It's
Ted Knaak.
Yeah, clearly it's Ted.
All right, fair enough.
We're very close. I mean, Snoop Dogg and I are.
Yeah. So I mean, it's
I get confused on the street.
I was confused you for Snoop when we first met. I think 7 years ago.
Times, I get called Snoop all the time. No, I'm Ted.
Ted, we got to let you go.
Okay.
I can't wait to see you.
Less than a month.
I know, less than a month. And Robin, and in the whole gang, it's going to be awesome.
And Russ will be there.
Oh yeah,
we're going to put him to work.
Yeah, we see Russ all the time now. So
All right,
let's check us out, buddy.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Hey, as always, Ted, thank you so much. All right, adding value and making friends.
Well. I mean, I don't say we check that box, but these are old friends.
It's the relationship.
Rejuvenated, yes.
He's my neighbor.
Added value. Neighbors. We didn't even get to that. Next time, we're going to talk about that. If anyone would like to be a guest on a future show, shoot us an email at info@thegeoholics.com. We're booking into June.
Yeah, we're in
June right now. We want to stay relevant. Send us an email. Love to have you. Springsteen, I'm going down, available everywhere. Until next time, everyone, it's okay to like life. This guy right here. Make happy accidents part of the routine.
Love it.
Love that. Register for Tuck 25. No guts, no glory. Most importantly, be safe and healthy, everybody.